Ms. Rhea Suh became the president of the Natural Resources Defense Council on January 2015, leading the nearly 500 scientists, attorneys, and policy experts that make up the NRDC, one of the country's most effective environmental action organizations. Before joining the NRDC, Ms. Suh served as the Assistant Secretary of Policy, Management, and Budget at the U.S. Department of the Interior, where she led several cross-cutting initiatives on federal land conservation, climate adaptation, international affairs, and youth programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the members of the panel for the opportunity to be here today. As evidenced by all of the testimony that you've been hearing today, there is no greater threat to the planet or to all of its inhabitants than climate change. This fact has been established by scientists for decades. There should not be any equivocation about the threat or the urgency required to meet it for the next administration. It has been said that we are the first generation to experience the impacts of climate change, withering droughts, catastrophic wildfires, unprecedented flooding, and now the all too regular superstorms ravaging our country and our world. But we are not the first generation to experience the impacts of our dependency on fossil fuels. The air we breathe, the water we drink, and the lands that sustain us have all been compromised by the pollution created by oil and gas extraction and production. And while we all pay a price for climate, we must also be clear that some communities have long borne a greater burden. Some communities, some Americans, all too often, I should add, low-income and people of color, some families and some children are literally bearing the toxicity of our dependence on fossil fuels in their bodies. We have a responsibility to our fellow Americans, to our children, and to their children to act quickly and decisively to end our use of dirty fossil fuels that drive climate change and to build cleaner, smarter ways to power our future. To do that, we must fully implement the President's Clean Power Plan, cutting dangerous carbon pollution from our dirty power plants. And we must do it in a way that protects frontline communities, providing for a just transition to clean energy. We must strengthen energy efficiency standards for appliances and equipment and fuel economy standards for cars and trucks. We must end the fossil fuel subsidies that cost American taxpayers more than $4 billion a year. None of us should ever again be taxed one thin dime to subsidize the profits of the richest and most destructive industries in the history of the world. And we must end new leasing of all fossil fuel production off of federal lands. It's time to get the federal government out of the fossil fuel business and into the business of building new jobs and clean energy production from wind, solar, and geothermal. We must create the policies and the incentives to further position the United States to be the leader in creating and supplying the clean energy technology, solar panels, windmills, electric cars for the world. Building a clean energy economy is the greatest economic opportunity in our lifetime, and we must push to ensure that these new jobs are good middle-class jobs on our soil for our families. The future health of our country and of our families is not only dependent upon this bold action, it is dependent upon bolstering the existing framework of environmental laws and regulations designed to keep us safe and to protect us with the most basic and fundamental of environmental rights, the right to breathe clean air and the right to drink safe water. As we have witnessed in the city of Flint in these last months, it is a calamity that this nation must address. And what has happened to the people of Flint is an injustice that has happened and is waiting to happen in all too many other American communities. Communities where people are treated as though their voices don't matter because they are people of color, because they live in a lower income neighborhood, because the people they elected and the government they pay have betrayed them. Bold action is required to fix the aging pipes and pumps, to restore and to enforce the standards that were designed to protect us all. We must strengthen the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Lead and Copper Rule to make more effective in protecting public health. And we must enact standards that address pollution in our water from other chemical compounds and toxins. These protections are common sense, but also common decency. Bold action is required to confront the devastating reality that even in the greatest country in the world, we are failing our fellow citizens in the most basic of environmental standards. As people committed to progress in America, we cannot stand to see a child unable to drink water from their kitchen tap in Flint or anywhere else. We can't stand to see blowouts that kill our workers, pollute our waters, and devastate our communities and coasts. And we can't stand to see the most vulnerable among us, our children, our seniors, those in failing health, consigned to the ragged front lines of environmental hazards because of their income, heritage, ethnic background, or color. That is not what justice looks like. It is not what America looks like. We have the opportunity to renew our commitments to each other, to our children, to our country, through renewal and strengthening of the kinds of environmental laws and regulations that are needed to bend the arc of history on environmental and human degradation towards a just and sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Sherman.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief, just to say that all of the testimony today has been very compelling and eloquent. And Dr. Zogby and I were sitting here talking about how drought, access to water, access to energy, sanitation fuels much of the conflict around the world. And it is critical for the United States to show leadership on this, one, because we've used most of the resources of the world, and we have to be the leaders to show how to do this and how to do this in a just and fair way to workers, to our homes, to our environment. But I think it's important for our discussion of the environment and climate change in the Democratic platform that we underscore that in terms of conflict around the world and economic justice around the world, climate is a fundamental issue.
Thank you. Well stated. Any other comments, questions? Ms. Parker.
Yes, thank you for your powerful testimony. We have so much work to do, and it shows today. It showed us yesterday and the days before how much work we have to do. What is, excuse me, like I was breathing in refinery, I was protesting, and I still can't breathe. What is the single most important step that we can take today? We have a long list of action items that we need to take to protect, we say Mother Earth, to protect our Earth. What would you recommend our first step? What's our first step to take? The single most important step we can take today?
I think in terms of federal government actions, we have seen the historic establishment of the first comprehensive framework to address climate change in the Clean Power Plan of the Obama administration, the most important framework that we have as a country, as a nation, that serves as the bedrock, frankly, of the leadership that we've seen in other nations. So continuing to ensure that we can keep those standards, those new regulations in place and actually implement them in the next administration, I think is going to be critical.
Thank you very much. Thank you.